Welcome, everyone. Episode number 63 of Talking Kentucky. My name is Coleman Scott. His name is Caden Holmes. I'm in Frankfort, Kentucky, and Caden's down in Hanson, Kentucky, as we're getting a little bit of cooler weather in Kentucky this week than we had last week, but it's still pretty hot out there. And today we are very lucky to be joined by Maggie Davis, who really needs no introduction because if you're a Kentucky fan, and you're on social media at all, or if you have watched TV at all in the past, year and a half or so, then you've definitely seen her on LEX 18 News, on BBN Tonight, and several other. It's BBN Game Day, I think, is another one that that she's on. So she's done just about everything, but I'll let her tell you about that. But Maggie, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, what a great introduction. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm excited. No, this is great. Thank you guys. And you pretty much nailed it. Yeah, BBN Tonight. We have BBN Game Day on Saturdays and a whole lot of other fun stuff coming up before this year's football season really gets going here in the next month. So a lot of good stuff to come. Thank you.
I can't believe football season's like upon us here.
I know. It's here. Fall camp starts this week. I mean, that's like the whole basis of our show tonight at 7:30 is like, it's this week. Can you believe it? It's this week.
I know. It's insane. Well, Caden here is what Cal would call a basketball Benny. So I'm trying to get
Benny, yeah.
I'm trying to get
I learned, Maggie, I finally learned like more than one player that was on the team this past year, and I actually watched most of the games for the first time in my life. So yeah, I'm learning a little bit at a time, and I enjoyed it more than I have in the past. So
that's
I'm gonna keep on
progress.
learning. Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, I did quiz Caden about this time last year on the roster, of the football team, and I think he got Will Levis, and that's pretty much it. I think he said
I got the Hernandez part right.
No, you got the Chris part right. You said
Chris. I got one of the names right.
Chris Rodriguez. So that was close, but
Goodness,
not quite there. But hey, we're trying to get him more into it. So if you have any advice of how to get Caden more into football, I'm all ears for sure.
Of course. I mean, well, how far are you from Lexington, Caden? How far away are you?
About 3 hours.
3 hours.
I'm in Western Kentucky.
Western. Okay, gotcha. I was going to say you should come to Fan Day on Saturday. I think they literally just sent out an email with some details about that this Saturday morning. And I always think Fan Day is a good way to you start meeting some players. If you don't know the roster yet, you kind of get to see who the starters are going to be. You can just focus on them without being so overwhelmed of the whole 100-person roster, trying to figure it out all at once. It kind of gives you a good idea of who's going to play the most. Plus you're there with other fans. I think they normally have food and merchandise and all that sort of fun stuff. And obviously I would say you should watch BBN Tonight, weeknights at 7:30 on LEX 18. And, we kind of cater to every level of fan, I think. We have the real extreme people who know everything about everyone on every UK team, and that's awesome. But we also really try to let every UK fan learn something new from our show. So sometimes, whether that's us breaking down a game or showing you something totally behind the scenes or personality driven with one of the guys, I think that's an awesome way to learn to love a team and really get to know the guys on and off the field. I think always helps.
Yeah, well, Coleman and I have talked about going to a game this year. I don't know if we've nailed down what game that is, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, Fan Day.
We're either going to Vanderbilt away or Alabama at home, so those opponents are not alike. So one of those would probably be a win. One might be lost, but we'll see.
Yeah, these days you don't know which one.
Yep.
Either way, I think those will both be fun games. Nashville in the fall is awesome. And Alabama at home for the first time in years, I think is going to be an awesome environment at Kroger Field. So you can't go wrong.
That's very true. One of my professors, my master's degree at Colorado, is a huge Alabama fan. So I'm trying to get him. The last time he came to a Kentucky game was back in '97 when we beat Alabama in Lexington. So I'm trying to get. I think he's the good luck charm. So if he comes again, I think that would be good.
Bring him back. And Anwar Stewart had kickback return for a touchdown in that game on special teams, and now he's the defensive line coach for Kentucky. So he's good luck too, I think. So keep it all the same, keep it going, and yes, hook up with Anwar Stewart on that one.
There we go. That's right. I didn't realize that about Anwar Stewart. I mean, I knew he was on the staff now, but I didn't realize. Yeah, well, there we go. There's all kinds of connections. So we're going to beat Alabama this year. You heard it here first, for sure. I do think it's probably more likely we beat Bama than Georgia, but we'll try to stay.
I tend to agree with that.
we're going to go 12-0. We'll stay optimistic until it doesn't happen. But Maggie, to start off with, I really just wanted to ask you pretty much your life story. Just tell us how you became Maggie Davis.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's not a very exciting story, but I'll try to liven it up a little bit. I'm from Lexington. I was actually born in Louisville, but pretty much I spent my whole life really starting in elementary school here in Lexington. So grew up a big UK fan, always knew that I wanted to go to UK. And then sort of as I got a little bit older, I was like, I've lived in Lexington for so long, need to branch out. And for a couple of years there in high school, I was like, I'm going anywhere but UK. I applied to almost every other school in the SEC. A couple other schools outside the SEC even, and eventually just started to narrow down my options and just realized that UK made the most sense for me. Now, was not a journalism major initially. Came into school wanting to do anesthesiology, actually. So I went in pre-med. I had shadowed the UK hospital in high school and was specifically in the anesthesiology department. Absolutely loved it. Decided this is what I'm going to do. I did that for a full year at UK as like a biology major, and just kept journalism as a minor. I had done my high school newspaper. I had done the morning announcements like so many of us in this profession did back in the day. And so I loved it, but I just didn't think that that was a career. I thought of it more as a hobby at that point. And then it was right around this time, my freshman year, that I applied for an internship to be a Sunday intern writer for KentuckySportsRadio.com, the website. And when I started doing that, I got that internship. I was a freshman. I was a biology major. I really didn't have time to like write a bunch on the website, but I really enjoyed it. So I started doing, more and more Sundays. Eventually they asked me to cover the women's basketball team. I sort of volunteered myself for that one because I lived in the dorms as a freshman and I could walk to Memorial Coliseum. So I sort of like pitched myself as this person who was just always around. I live on campus. A lot of the full-time writers either lived far out in Lexington or, like Tyler Thompson's down in Nashville. Nick Roush is in Louisville. It just was a harder commute for them. And they were making that commute so often for men's basketball, for football, some of the like big sort of university-wide events, that I just wanted to be super available for anything else that came up because I lived right there. I could literally basically throw a stone at Memorial Coliseum. So they were like, great. You cover women's basketball media day. We'll see how you do. They paired me with a sort of an older, I'm not sure if she was an intern at the time or not, but one of the other sort of part-time college students who'd been around a little bit longer, Haley Simpson, shout out to her. She was a huge help for me that first year. And I sort of dipped my toe in with women's basketball and fell in love with it. KSR let me cover games, go to press conferences, do some interviews, write some features. And I was obsessed with it. I'd always liked writing. I'd always loved sports. I just hadn't quite figured out what that looked like as a career. And once I sort of saw it sort of come together in terms of an internship and what it would really look like, I decided to heck with biology. I'm not taking chemistry anymore. Drop me out of physics. I'm switching to journalism as my major and just sort of full sent from there. And got to stay with KSR all through college, moved from women's basketball. The next season, they asked me to move to the football beat, which I was over the moon about. And then the year after that, so starting my junior year of college, I started covering the men's basketball team. Along the way, I got an internship here, actually at LEX 18. That's where I am right now, at my full-time job now. But I interned here with Matt on the show, Hey Kentucky. He was a huge part of me learning the ropes of what the differences were between what I was doing in print for KSR and what the broadcast world looked like. Got introduced to so many people that way. And a lot of those same people played a big part in me getting a full-time sports reporter job opening here when I graduated from college. So it all sort of stayed full circle for me. Again, leaving college, thought, I'm done with Lexington. Again, I've been here for so long. I really thought I would go anywhere else, I guess I should say. And not that I didn't want to stay in Lexington. I love Lexington and I knew I would love working here, but I just didn't think it was going to be an option for me, especially right out of school. So many people in sports especially have to go to much smaller markets, and I was fully prepared for that. Doesn't help that I graduated in 2020. So there were no sports going on that spring at all. And I really just didn't know what was going to happen. And timing was on my side, luck, fate, divine intervention, whatever you want to call it. And that same summer, LEX 18 became the official station for UK athletics. That opened up a couple more job opportunities. And that's when I was lucky enough to interview here and eventually get the job. Started off as a production assistant on the show. And over the last 2.5 years, just kind of kept chipping away at it. And as of last month, I am now the anchor of the show. So it's been a crazy couple of years. Yeah, it's been crazy, but I'm so excited, and I couldn't have asked for a better path or better people along the way, for sure.
That's all. Yeah. And congratulations, because that's a pretty recent thing, right? That you're now the co-anchor. That is awesome. Yeah. And you recently were engaged too. So engagement, promotion, and all kinds of, big things happening for you. It sounds like
July was a crazy month. Yes. Thank you.
I can imagine. So you
when the way that she talks about the job, it sounds like a trumpet opening. She's like, it's not many of them. That's how we feel as trumpet players.
Yeah, Kate and I are both musicians, so they're few and far between for sure. Yes. Well, and actually, if I didn't major in music, I was really wanting to major in journalism. That was kind of my secondary passion. So I can empathize with the lack of positions, or just how hard it can be. For sure.
It's tough, right? And so much of it comes down to timing. And I think I was a little in over my head at the beginning and early in my career, especially. I hated when people were like, oh, she's so lucky. That's so lucky. And I was like, no, I work really hard, and I do all these extra hours, and I didn't get paid for 3 years, and, all this stuff. And then sort of, I don't like to think that I'm old now, but now that I've been doing it for a little bit longer, I think I'm a little bit wiser and toned down a little bit to be like, no, there's a big part of this that is luck, and just the good timing of when jobs are open, of who you click with, of the kind of job you want to take, the kind of job that wants you. A lot of that is luck. And I'm sure you guys get that feeling, especially working in music and what you all do now. It's just like, you need good timing and you need some luck on your side sometimes.
Absolutely. No, yeah, you're right on with that. So you mentioned you grew up, well, you're from Louisville, but did you grow up in Lexington? Did you go high school in Lexington?
Yes. Okay. I was born in Louisville, but moved very, very young, moved to Ohio for a couple of years, but came back to Lexington when I was in 3rd grade. So, I mean, I grew up totally in Lexington, went to high school at Dunbar, and then obviously, like I said, went to UK after that. Yep.
Nice.
Can't get rid of me here.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I was wondering. I couldn't remember what high school you went to. So yeah, Dunbar. Okay.
Yes.
So have you been? You mentioned you applied to some schools outside of Kentucky and even outside the SEC. Have you always been a Kentucky fan though, at heart, or kind of off and on? Or
oh yeah, no. I mean, I've always bled blue. That was definitely. My mom went to UK. Don't tell anybody. My dad actually went to Louisville. We don't talk about it too much. No, it's fine except for like 2 or 3 times a year. Normally comes up in March and November or something like that, and December, I guess, for the regular season basketball games. So yeah, no, I mean, I was always team mom growing up. Sorry, Dad, but leaned with the Cats from a pretty early age, and it was a huge sports fan in high school. And it wasn't that I wasn't a UK fan when I was looking at colleges. I just really thought that I wanted to do something different. I didn't love my high school experience. I wasn't like super thrilled to stay in the town where I'd gone to high school. I just was ready sort of for a fresh start and didn't think that I would be able to do that at UK. But then eventually just sort of had to bet on myself in a way of being like, well, I think I can go to UK and branch out and meet different people and do different things. And that's totally possible to do, even if you do stay in your hometown. And that's something that I've had to learn a lot for myself over the last couple of years, whether that was deciding where to go for college or after college, deciding to take a job here in Lexington as well. And now that I'm a little bit more removed from those decisions, obviously I'm so grateful for how it's worked out both times. I've met so many friends, met my fiance at UK going there, and then obviously now have my absolute dream job. And I get to do all of it in my hometown for my favorite team with my parents and my sister still living down the road. And it's just, I couldn't really ask for a better situation.
Maggie, it's interesting you say that about being back in the hometown, because I'm kind of in the same situation here in Western Kentucky. And I'm in the process of figuring out whether I'm going to stay or go somewhere else, or kind of looking at those options. So I definitely understand that. And I admire the fact you said you found a way to branch out, even being back at the same place. But I was going to ask, are you a basketball Benny, or are you an everything Benny?
I used to say I was a basketball Benny for sure. Not that it wasn't for football, but like those were really the 2 main sports I paid the most attention to, honestly, growing up especially. So basketball was definitely my first love. Fell in love with football sort of probably in high school a little bit later. And then getting to cover women's basketball really opened my eyes to how fun it could be to cover such a wide variety of sports, especially interning with KSR. I mean, I was just taking anything that they would let me cover. I was thrilled to cover. So there were definitely weekends that I was covering gymnastics and softball and soccer and things that I really didn't know anything about. and sports that I clearly had a lot and still to some extent have a lot to learn about, because it's just not something, if you don't grow up watching or playing or analyzing those sports, it takes a little bit longer, right, to like find your sort of groove with it and be comfortable doing it. But now in BBN Tonight, it's honestly one of my favorite parts of this job is being able to cover every team. And we hear from people all the time who are like, we're so glad we have your show to know what's going on with the baseball team. And then obviously last year when they go on a huge run like they did, well, we've been talking about them all season, right? So if you've watched our show, you know these guys. You knew to expect this from Mason Moore and Devin Burks, and they've been having phenomenal seasons, and you've gotten to know those guys. And then it's easy for us to cover them in the postseason because they know us too. And so that's so fun. And same thing with gymnastics, track and field, all these sports. Swimming has won an SEC title recently, the women's team. So there's so many sports that are succeeding at such a high level. I think it's a disservice to not cover all of them to the extent that you can. And I think with our job specifically, we have the personnel and frankly, just the manpower to do it. Not a lot of outlets are lucky enough to have a 7-person team. And we have 7 people at LEX 18 who are full-time sports, whether that's on BBN Tonight or our normal 6 o'clock and 11 o'clock sportscasts on our news every night. But we have 7 people writing, editing, shooting, producing, all of the things. And we definitely are at an advantage because of that. And so, to answer your question, basketball Benny forever. But I love covering, genuinely, this sounds so cheesy and hokey, but I do love covering every sport. And I like that this job gives me the opportunity to do that.
Absolutely.
Coleman, there's hope for me.
Yeah, there's hope.
What she's saying.
Yeah, I think there's hope. No, I had no doubt. There's definitely, I always knew there was hope for you for the football side.
There is.
Well, speaking of baseball, I actually got to meet Maggie. I guess it was a little over a month ago at KS Bar for the first. I guess it was the Super Regional when Kentucky played LSU, which I'm a grad student at LSU. So I was torn there. Not really, because I'm all in on on the Cats even when they play LSU. But we were talking about how we were glad that they were not going to play at night down there because the night games were crazy. And then of course the game got delayed like 8 hours. So we
jinxed it.
Yeah, we jinxed it. You can blame that on us probably. So that didn't go as planned, but that's okay because baseball did do well this year. And LSU won it all. So if LSU hadn't been there, yeah. Well, if LSU wasn't there, Kentucky was going to win it all. So I mean that's the way I look at it.
I love it.
But we talked about luck. Speaking of lucky, you are probably one of the few people that gets to do all these great, interviews with the basketball team and the football team and like Mark Stoops and what's it like just getting the green light to ask like Oscar Tshiebwe, pretty much anything you want. Like what's it like preparing for those interviews and getting to do those?
I love this question. That's a really good question. Thank you. Gosh, I don't know. I mean, I think a version of the question that I've had to think a lot about over the years is like people always ask like, oh, do you still get nervous? And I think people are surprised when I say yes, because like to an extent you do it so much, you're not nervous anymore, right? Like I did 100 interviews with Oscar, whether if you count post-game press conferences and pre-game sideline conversations and him coming onto our show, you're not nervous to talk to him necessarily at that point. You're around these people so much, and you realize like, oh, they're 19-year-old college students or whatever, but they're obviously much bigger in stature than they are when you really are like, oh, this is just some dude in college. But I get nervous because I always want to do a good job. And I'm a perfectionist. I'm hard on myself. I'm a planner. And so for me, like so much goes into these interviews in terms of like, I'm a part of this group called Galvanize, right? So it's a group for women in sports, basically. And I got great advice from our sort of leader, everyone, that we look up to. And she's the one who really started the whole organization is Laura Achman, who's a sideline reporter for Fox Sports and has been in the industry for so long and is just honestly one of the greatest people alive. And she gave us this advice a couple of years ago at like sort of a conference we had gone to about how to prepare for interviews. And her advice is to go find every other interview you could with that person. Watch every interview they've done. Listen to every interview they've done. Read every interview they've done. And really try to figure out, like, what are they interested in talking about? What made their eyes light up? What story did they want to tell? And, of course, you're not always able to do that, right? Sometimes you're there to talk about the game or to talk about this one big story that's happening. But if you're able to really dig into these people and figure out their why and not just the what, And it sounds kind of cheesy, but when you think about like the kind of interviews that you've watched on Sundays, before an NFL game or during the NBA championships, the ones you remember are the ones that are impactful and they're in depth and you can tell that they were well researched. And yeah, I'm not going to lie and say I do that every single time now. I mean, I interview somebody every day for my job. I just can't. But anytime we have the opportunity to do any sort of feature or sit down or profile, anything that's going to be a little bit more in depth than your standard, 2 questions after a game, I do try really hard to figure out, what's the angle we're taking and how can I construct questions that let them know that I'm prepared. Because the more prepared you are, the more open your interview subjects tend to be, right? If you go in and you ask JJ Weaver, like, if you have no idea that he has a 6th finger or that his dad was murdered or, like all of these things are what makes him who he is right now. And all of those things go into his motivation for the season ahead. And he came to mind because we talk about him a lot on our show tonight. That's sort of the plan for 7:30 is to talk about JJ's season. But you can't talk about JJ's season with him if you don't know everything that's gone into where he is now and who he is at this point in his life. So I think that is how I prepare for these interviews. And that's why I still get nervous because I want to do a good job and I want whoever I'm interviewing to be comfortable. I want them to be happy, with what they're able to tell the fan base, because that's really ultimately who these interviews are for with our show. And I want the fan base to like it. Not every story is like happy go lucky, like you're going to fall in love with this guy, but when they can be kind of personal and interesting and maybe a story you haven't heard before, I think that's the best way to do it. And so I hope I answered your question.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, that was a great answer. When that being said, with those interviews that you have prepped so much for, do you have a favorite one over the years? I know that's probably a hard question to ask, but
no, that's a good question.
or any, you could have multiple ones too. But
yeah, I think
highlights.
One that really stands out to me is the series I was able to do with the basketball team last year. I did a whole series with the team that was just known as Off Days. And I love it. It was honestly
that was great.
Thank you. Yeah. It was like 2 seasons in the making. I really pitched it for the team before that. And it took that long. Like you mentioned, you get the green light. Not always immediately do we get a green light. So it took like a year of being like, this is what I want to do. This is the benefit of it. This is how cool it could turn out. Here are some ideas, whatever. And a year later, pretty much it comes to fruition. And I thought that was such a cool way to show a different side of the players. And I think, sort of like what I talked about before, they loved being able to be like, hey, this is something I am really passionate about and something that this is what makes me who I am. And they don't often get to share that kind of stuff, especially as a Kentucky basketball player, right? And especially with the struggles that those guys went through during the season. I liked that preseason we had done this full series where every single person on the team got to show the fan base a little bit who they are off the court. And I feel like just being able to connect with the players in that way hopefully makes people feel like they're a little bit closer to the team and maybe people are less likely to tag them in mean tweets or forget that they're people too.
Right. No, absolutely. Yeah, I remember that series. I love that. That was really awesome.
Thank you.
There was one, this is kind of a selfish question. There was one like interview you did with Davion Mintz and like you like read his mind, but I like didn't know exactly like what happened there. I had like the little clip here I wanted to play of it.
3, 2, 1.
Oh my gosh.
We did it. That was not planned. That was sick.
Okay, that's really good. That's a good story, actually.
Okay, yeah, I saw it on your Instagram, but I never understood what actually took place there. So
okay, well, I'm glad you dug up the clip because I love that clip. I kind of forgot about that one, and those were really fun interviews. So what happened was the basketball team was taking their like pictures, formal portraits, whatever for the year that are going to go on their website profiles and all this stuff with UK Athletics. And they were taking the pictures at the castle. So they're all dressed up. They all have new outfits for it. They're all pumped. And the basketball team basically says that I can come do interviews with them, but I'm not really supposed to talk about basketball. And so I'm sort of like, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
What the heck am I going to talk about? Right. And so that sort of goes back to my question about really trying to, a couple of days before this interview, digging into all these guys, most of which I didn't know, had never met before. This was in the summer before that season. So they hadn't played a game yet. I hadn't met them yet. I had no idea what they would be like. So going back, trying to find old interviews, figure out what we could talk about, whatever, do all these interviews. They're like walk and talk style, basically just walking with them around the Kentucky Castle, which was like, pinch me moment. This is crazy. Right. And we're walking around and for some reason, I did this with all the guys. At the end of the interview, we got to a certain like spot where we had to stop, and I'd say like, okay, well, this is the end. When we get to the end, let's count to 3, strike a pose. That's like the end of the interview, right? Because there's not going to be like cuts and edits because they're walk and talk. It's one take. It's 60 seconds, however much time. They did not give me very much time with these guys. It's like you have the amount of time it takes you to walk from this location to this location. And at the end, pose, you're done. We're not editing it, nothing, no plans. And so we did it with every guy, and everybody did funny poses and different things and whatever. And they were all good sports about it from what I remember. But Davion, for whatever reason, at the end, we both just did this and totally just went back to back. I have no idea. I didn't do that with other people. I kind of did different stuff the whole time too. And whatever reason, we just both did the same thing. And like you saw and heard in that clip, we were like, oh my gosh, we didn't plan that. We didn't plan that. So it's just, I don't know, maybe it goes back to that luck thing, or our minds were connected there for that interview. I don't know how it happened, but yeah, Davion was one of my favorite people to interview for sure. He was awesome to talk to and a great, great person.
That's awesome.
And player.
Well, there we have.
And player, yes.
If
we didn't have him that year, oh my gosh.
We called it from day one. Yeah, Davion was like our best player that year. And Kate and I spent. Well, before we let you go, Maggie, you're the expert here. What do you have any advice for us on podcasting, on anything like that? What can we do to become Maggie Davis?
She's going to tell me to be a football fan.
Yeah.
You probably should watch the football games. I guess I should start with that.
There you go, Kaden.
There you go. No, oh gosh. I mean, you all know way more about podcasting
Maggie
than
Davis
me.
says watch football this year.
That's my big hot take. You got to watch the games. No, I mean, you all definitely know more about podcasting than me. I've never had a podcast. I mean, I jump on these from time to time, but gosh, I don't know very much about podcasting. But I would say in general, like in this media sort of environment that we are in right now, like there's just so much out there. There's so many more options for people. Whether that's if they're watching on TV, they want to read it on their phones, they want to look at it on social, they want to listen on a podcast, they want to listen live. There's so many ways to consume media. And I think for a program like Kentucky that has such a huge, massive, passionate fan base, there's even more, and people are even hungrier for content. So, the want and the desire for this information and this kind of show is there. And you guys obviously do an awesome job. And so it's just like, what makes you different than all of the other options, right? We talk about that all the time at BBN Tonight. Like, what can we do to make people want to watch our show? No offense to everybody else, but watch our show instead of anybody else's show, right? And at the end of the day, we're not all doing the same thing. We're not all in competition, whatever. But we do have to say what makes us unique and what value can we bring to the fans that they can't just get by watching the highlights or, by reading listening to the post-game press conference. How do we make it informative and yet entertaining, and all these different combinations of things that we always try to do. And I don't know, but I would think that applies to podcasting too. And, I know you guys do an awesome job, so I don't want to give you too much advice because, like I said, you know more about this than I do. But yeah, just keep making yourself different, and I guess promote the heck out of it on social media. I mean, that's what people tell me to do, and I try to do it, and it's hard. It's hard. I'm not very good at that.
It takes time, too.
It takes time. Yes, it does. And I know you all both have your own, careers, and you're busy, and you have school and music and all this stuff. And it's just like, gosh, I'm out of hours to make a TikTok. Like, I can't do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I do not have a TikTok. I don't think I'm going to cave into that one.
I did finally cave, but I'm not very good at it.
I haven't gotten there yet. Hey, yeah, Maggie, serious question. I have a serious question before you leave.
Okay, I'm ready.
Speaking of what makes us unique, Coleman and I did a wild animals bracket 2 weeks ago.
Ooh, okay.
And the alien won the bracket, animals that you don't want to run into. And it was very controversial that the
aliens count as animals?
That's
well,
what
I made it, so I got to choose what was in it. But
that's true.
Alien won. So Maggie, what would be the animal you would least want to run into in the wild?
Ooh, this is a good question. Here's the 2 things that came to my mind. You can help me decide between these 2. I would say a gator and a gorilla. Were those 2 of the options on your bracket?
Gorilla was in there. Gator was, but I don't think gorilla was in there.
They both were. It just didn't make it far.
Okay.
Crocodile.
I don't think I'd have a shot against either one of them. But honestly, I mean, I probably wouldn't have a good shot against like a wild dog either. Like I don't have much of fight in me, so I don't know.
That's
all right.
That's
so Maggie
true.
Davis says gator.
I don't know. Yeah, one of those.
Yeah. Yeah, the most serious question of the night from Caden there for sure.
I like it. I'm not sure how I feel about the alien answer, but I guess I'll give
I
it
don't
to you.
either. No, you're. I agree with you on that one.
I'm just
I said
saying
the
it
same
won
thing.
the Talking Kentucky bracket is all I'm saying. So.
That's a good bracket though. I like that.
Oh yeah, that's that. Hey, that's what makes us different. We do brackets on Talking Kentucky, so
I like it.
I think Caden, we're on the right track there, according to Maggie. So
Yeah, I think so.
Well, Maggie, thank you so much for coming on again. So, are you live tonight on BBN tonight, or do you pre-record it, or is it live?
So we're pretty split, honestly. We're pretty close to 50-50, especially this time of the year. Tonight, don't tell anybody. Tonight we're pre-taped. So we already pre-taped it tonight. If there's nothing like major going on, we normally pre-tape in the afternoon a little bit earlier, just so we're not all here till 11 o'clock at night. I mean, we're on from 7:30 to 8 in Lexington. But, after the show, we always do like a show debrief. We got to put the show on the website. We promote it on social media. Like I said, that takes more time than you think, right? To go back and clip stuff and post it and plan ahead for the next day and all that stuff. So by the time we're done, I mean, it's normally after 10 o'clock when we're live, which is totally fine, some days. But on days that we don't have to do that, we do try to pre-tape usually.
Yeah.
And obviously we always have the option of going live. If Will Levis makes some big announcement at 7 and we can say, okay, cancel that. We're going live at 7:30 again, whatever. And that's always the case. Early football season, I would say, like when news keeps breaking, stuff like that at the end of seasons, when players are making NFL and NBA announcements, that sort of stuff, we don't have a good gauge of time on those usually. So we have surprise live shows every now and then. And then obviously we're live, like depending on just what's going on. Like if there's a 9 p.m. basketball game, we're going to be live from 7:30 to 8 because it just makes sense because you'll have the most up-to-date information at that point. But hopefully, fingers crossed, I don't want to jinx myself right now. Gosh, it's 6:30. But hopefully nothing crazy is going to happen in the next hour, knock on wood. Whereas like today, it's not a huge deal. Fall camp hasn't even started yet. So we'll be live a little bit more now that football gets rolling around.
Well, awesome. I will be watching because that is one of the many ways I can stay connected to home when I'm down in Baton Rouge. And Caden's going to be watching for the football.
Yes.
That's for sure because he needs to do.
Now that she told me to.
Football. By the way, another interview you did. You got to go. I think work out with Brady Welsh, the new strength and conditioning coach. Well, you got his cousin right over here. Caden and Brady are actually cousins. So
no way.
Yeah, small world.
Small world. I didn't know that. Well, Brady's been awesome to us over the years, letting me, try out all the equipment and toys and technology stuff that was way above my head in terms of workout knowledge. So yeah, he was great. That's so fun. Small world.
Yeah, I didn't know him until he got that job, and I figured out he was my cousin. So he went up there and met him. Seriously, I think they're from Illinois, and then. Yeah, but I just met him recently, so he's supposedly my cousin. So
that's a good story. Well, I think he does a good job. Like I said, I don't claim to be an expert in all of that, but he seems very knowledgeable, and he has every piece of technology I feel like you could imagine wanting. And the players love him.
I'd say so.
Yeah. Well, Maggie, we won't hold you up too much longer here. Thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. It means a lot.
Oh, well, awesome. Thank you guys so much. This was fun. I hope I picked a good animal, and I hope I answered all your other questions well, too. So thank you guys again for having me, and hopefully I see you at a football game this year.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially Caden.
Looking at you, Caden. Yeah.
Yeah. All righty.
Called out.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
You. Thanks so much. Well, Caden, that was great.
Yeah, it's a good show.
Yeah. Hey, the show's not over yet. We got some more topics on here, but now, I mean, the show might be over for some people because now it's just me and Caden, and Maggie's not on anymore. So if you just tuned in for Maggie Davis, I guess you can go ahead and exit left now. But she was really easy to talk to. I can see why she's so good at her job because she's easy to talk to and fills in the gaps pretty easily. You know what? Once you
it doesn't seem scripted either. It seems like she seems legit, you know what I mean? Like it's really easy to talk to.
Podcasting or whatever you want to call it, broadcasting is not as easy as it sounds necessarily. Once you start trying to do it and like fill in time and think of what to say next, it can be really challenging. So she's definitely a natural at that. It seems like
she's a natural. What I was thinking of whenever what was she talking about? Interviewing. She's talking about interviewing, and all I could think about was that clip from our bracket that was like, well, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Yeah.
seeing if we had that on here. I don't think we
No.
have it on here anymore. But that's all I could think about when she was talking about like how to interview.
And we got some people down in the comments here. Brad Harvey said preparation is everything back when she was talking about preparation, I guess. Also says Maggie is great, passionate, and real. Roxanne Holmes says gorilla with a smiley face. Man, if you weren't listening to this episode, you're just looking at the comments and you don't have any context. It seems pretty random. Brad says the show must go on. So even though Maggie's gone now, Kate and I have to, still talk and, figure stuff out. And Lisa Marie Scott says so great. Maggie and LAX18 are the best. I completely agree. I again, like Freddie throwing the shovel pass. I think there's some parallels between what she does and trumpet. There's parallels between being a quarterback in the SEC and trumpet. There's parallels between being an anchor on BBN Tonight and trumpet. So I think
she says she did like all this work without getting paid. That's the first parallel.
Yeah, that's the first. That's a big parallel. Yeah, I was like, oh, I know what that's like. Yeah, and then there's like we both want to live in Lexington, but there's no jobs in Lexington. So, but she did find a job in Lexington. So maybe we can make that happen. Okay, I did ask the Davion Mintz reading each other's mind question. Okay, so I wanted to check that off.
That's the first time I saw that clip. That was funny.
Yeah, that's been on her Instagram for a while, but I've always wondered what exactly was going on there. So what better person to ask than the source itself? So thanks to Maggie for coming on again. That was really great. Now getting on to you said you had a serious question for her about the animal bracket. Now we'll get on to the serious topics of what holidays it is. It's National Mutt Day today. Now that Maggie Davis is off, we'll get to our serious topics. It's National Mutt Day, not mug, but mutt, as in the dog. It is Harry Potter's birthday, in case you're a nerd and want to celebrate that.
J.K. Rowling, is that who came up with his birthday? I never saw that in the book. I question that.
Maybe it's J.K. Rowling's birthday. Maybe that's why. Oh, it is. I scroll on down. July 31st.
J.K. Rowling. This is like deja vu. Are these repeat holidays?
I think we did a show on July 31st last year.
I think I said that same thing.
I think you did. Well, it's because we did a show about it this time last year. So, yeah.
So every year they just reuse them. That makes sense.
Think so.
I guess that's how that would work.
It's Uncommon Instrument Awareness Day. Unfortunately, we play a common instrument, which is why there's no jobs for it. So, can you think of any uncommon instrument? I can't really think of any. Maybe viola.
Well, even my first thought's bagpipe.
Bagpipe.
We talked about that last show.
Didn't you ask me if I'd ever played trumpet with bagpipes?
With bagpipe, yeah.
I was listening back, and I still don't ever think I understood why you asked that question. What? So have you played a trumpet with bagpipes?
Yeah, for an Easter gig one time.
Is that what you said on the show? I can't remember that. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how it got brought up. I can't see myself randomly saying, "Hey, I played bagpipe or with a bagpipe one gig," but I don't know how it got brought up. But yeah, I did play with a bagpipe.
It's also National Jump for Jelly Beans Day. I do remember saying that this time last year. So we definitely did a show on July 31st last year because I'm remembering all this. It's Avocado Day. If you have a favorite form of avocado, you like guacamole or
not guacamole.
or spreading it on toast or just trying to ask the serious questions.
I'm over here like trying to
making
think so hard.
You're making a mockery out of this interview.
I like my avocado.
According
to Maggie Davis, you gotta ask the questions that makes my eyes light up, and I don't know if avocado is one of them.
I tried to be prepared. I pulled up the holidays in advance. So I'm prepared for my interview.
Yeah,
Brad Harvey said preparation is everything. So I'm trying to ask these questions, and you're making a mockery out of my interview. So
yes, I do like avocados. Next question.
That's good. Well, I don't have another question, so I'm going to go ahead and go over to some other topics over here. I know what we should do next. We tried to get this misfit. If you haven't listened to our previous episode yet about Caden's gym teacher crapping on Shaq's free throw technique, you need to check that out. We tried to play the video on the show, but we hadn't downloaded it in advance. It goes back to preparation again, so we need to take Maggie's advice there. But I did prepare tonight, and I did download it, so I do have the prime audio version of that clip if you would like to see
and
it.
if nothing else, listen to last episode for the Southern Indiana fight song.
Yes,
it's a classic.
That is worth listening to the episode just for that, for sure. But here's Miss Fitch telling Shaq how to shoot his free throws.
I know why your free throws ain't going down. Because that follow through, baby. Gotta have that touch. Look.
And the best part is at the end, Shaq mocks her and says, "You can't hear it on the clip. You can't hear the audio, but he does do it in his face, so you can see it." So
I know why your free throws ain't going down. Because that follow through, baby. Gotta have that touch. Look.
I hope that is actually it looks like it happens in the same place, right? Like that looks like the same.
I hope it's
in
actually
both clips,
Well, I was talking to you about that before. So she was actually there. Like she actually said that to Shaq's face.
Everyone I've talked to in Madisonville thinks that they were in a restaurant in Las Vegas.
And
he ended up paying for everyone's meal. Yes.
That makes sense. That would make more sense than him being in Madisonville. So I hope that's true there, for sure. So that's Miss Fitch. Just for continuity's sake, we'll go ahead and play it one more time because why not?
I know why your free throws ain't going down. Because that follow through, baby. Gotta have that touch. Look.
I could just go up to her door and ask her to come on the show and explain what exactly happened.
She could. She should call in. Yeah. She should call in 502-234-1504. You should call in if anybody else is watching. Go ahead and call in, ask us or tell us your thoughts on our interview with Maggie Davis. Tell us if there's any Kentucky basketball or Kentucky football news, because there doesn't really seem to be. But we would know if we watched BBN tonight. Caden would know about the football side of things if we watched BBN tonight. So
yeah, I cannot believe I said Hernandez in front of Maggie Davis.
Yeah, that was pretty entertaining. And that was the first thing we said too. Yeah. So
we are unique.
Well, we have that part down? We don't need to work on that. We are unique. I think that's true. So go ahead and call on the show. I'm surprised I haven't seen Clyde Hare in the comments. So we need Clyde.
It's too early for him.
Yeah, it is too early for him. Clyde's usually tagging people to get on here. So, but I'm sure he will be on soon or listen back. But yeah, if you're watching and want to call in, we do in fact have a phone line. We can't put you on hold because we're not KSR, but we do have an iPad with a phone number, so you can call in there. I wanted to talk about Duke fans getting a post, actually, which I'll give you some context on that really quick. So there was a post that I shared on the Talkin Kentucky page showing that Kentucky's basketball team, of course, in Canada went to Drake's $100 million mansion, while Duke's men's basketball team went to the McDonald's global headquarters. And the post says that we are not the same, because that's not the same, going to Drake's house and going to the McDonald's headquarters. And somebody commented on it. I'll give a shout out because I actually thought this was really funny, and I told this person that this would be a topic on our next episode. Shelby Esters commented on our post and said, "I shared this in 2 Duke groups. I will post the results." And I thought that was awesome. I, of course, reacted to it, and then she screenshotted the results of her sharing it to a Duke group. I've got it here on my phone. And there's 2 comments I'd like to read to you. The first comes from Charles Weaver. And mind you, I'm going to read you verbatim what the post says. Kentucky went to Drake's $100 million mansion. Duke went to the McDonald's global headquarters. We are not the same. The first comment from the first Duke fan says, facts. And the second comment from Donna Oliver says, we love our Dukies. So Shelby posted that picture in our comments, and she said, they're so dumb, they think it's a good thing. And I thought that was really entertaining. So I said, this will be a topic on our next episode. I love how the first dude said, facts, we're not the same. McDonald's is way better than Drake. So I thought that was great.
Yeah, the only thing that would be better if that would make more sense if it was Tennessee fans. So, but Duke is just as bad almost.
Hey, William Neat's in the comments here. We haven't seen him in the comments in a little bit, but he's on with us. Hello, William. We did name an episode after him, Talking Neat. That's right. I forgot to tell Maggie we were going to name the episode after her. We'll go ahead and say we'll call this show Talking Maggie, episode number 63, Talking Maggie. I'll tell her afterwards that we memorialized the show. I'm sure she'll appreciate that. So that will continue to add to her big July of getting engaged, getting a promotion on LX18, and getting a Talking Kentucky episode named after her. I think that's the big
first time on Talking Kentucky. Yeah.
William Neat says, thought you guys forgot about me. No, we would never. We don't forget about our fans. That's what makes us unique, like Maggie said. Is that we don't forget about our fans. So, William, if you are just joining us, though, we did have Maggie Davis on in the first half of the show, so you have to go back and listen to that interview because it was really a good one. She was awesome. So, thought the Duke fans thing commenting on our post was good. And didn't William call in one time? I thought he did.
I think he did.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure William's one of our callers. So William said, so now Mr. and
me and Maggie.
Me and Maggie got something in common. Okay. Oh, he did. Okay, he did see it. Gotcha. Nice. That is funny. We named a show after both of them. I see what he's saying.
Oh, I thought he was saying that since he called in. Okay, I got it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hey, that was neat. Yeah, what's his name? Elon Musk, right? Doesn't he own Twitter now? Is he the guy that owns Twitter?
From my knowledge, yes.
I can't keep up.
But
yeah. So now it's called X, apparently. So, I don't understand that.
Was it due to a poll? Did he put a poll out saying what should he call it or something?
I don't know. He's put some polls out about Donald Trump, and he put a poll out about should he resign from his position at Twitter. I will abide by the results of this poll and things like that. He also changed the logo of Twitter at one point to the Dogecoin symbol. So he's done a bunch of different things. Elon Musk is off the rails. Caden, do you feel like it bothers you in your day-to-day life that Twitter is now called X? Because there's some people losing their minds over it. But do you feel like it's really, Well,
considering I don't have a Twitter account, probably not. Yeah, we have Talking Kentucky on there. We don't. We do. We don't really. I mean, I don't really know how it works still. So.
Well, we got to change this banner here because it says follow the show on Twitter.
Follow X. Follow the show on X.
Yeah, we got to change it. So I guess it's now. Follow the show on X at Talkin_Kentucky. So I guess you can follow us on X now. What kind of name is X? Why would you? I don't understand.
I don't know. It sounds like some website that you probably don't want to go to when it's called that.
I would agree with that. Have you ever been behind one of those how's my driving government cars? Okay. Well, I added this.
The driving is usually terrible. Yeah.
I meant to talk about it on our last episode, but we didn't get to it, so I decided to add it to the topics for this show. I normally don't notice those very much, But the other day, one cut me off and pulled in front of me without using a blinker. And then the first thing I saw after that happened was, "How's my driving? Call this number." And I've never none of them have ever done something so egregious that I've actually called the number. So I thought I would ask you, like, how bad would it have to get? Like, what would a car like that have to do to make you actually call that number and actually tell them how their driving was?
It depends how mad you are in the first place.
I think so.
Like that, if you're already like raging over something and then something like that happens, I totally understand that if you call in.
Just call 502-234-150. We need to put those bumper stickers. We need to do an experiment. We need to put our show number on our cars and see if people.
You have them
call
text it, they'd be more likely to. Like, say Texas.
That's true.
Instead of call.
Text and drive. Yeah.
Text and drive.
Yeah, and yeah,
They'd still text and drive.
For me, that wasn't bad enough for me to call in when they cut in front of me. I don't know. They would have to. I think I would have to see them.
If they flipped you off while they did it,
I still probably wouldn't call in. It's it would have to take a lot. They'd probably have
what if they brake checked you?
What's that mean? I don't even know what that means.
Like slam on the brakes in front of you.
Oh, okay. That would check your brakes. That happened. Yeah, it depends on the context. I think the worst thing a car's ever done to me is passed me on the median, like the raised concrete median.
Oh yeah.
Like somebody got on the median and sped past me, and passed me on the median. So, which I thought was pretty crazy. But
William says if it had Cards logo on it, I'm calling. Like, talking about the Cardinals.
Yep, I assume so.
That's a good reason to call right there.
That would add to it. If it had Louisville bumper sticker on it, I think I might call too.
We need to, that shirt Stephen made. We need to turn that into a bumper
sticker. We do. That would sell like hotcakes. Well, that reminds me, Kate, this would be a good time to plug. We're going to start trying to sell some Talkin Kentucky merch through on our website through a platform. There's a million of them, Printify and a bunch of different things. But
yeah, we're designing. We're starting to design some merch. We'll get some shirts and some mugs and probably some hats out there. And maybe now that we thought about it, maybe even Dead Cardinals bumper stickers. So
yeah,
which you're probably right. We'll probably sell way quicker than anything else.
It would sell. William Needs says, "Where's your shirts and apparel?" Well, William, right now all we have is our Patreon, which we'll post a link in the comments to that at the end of the episode, where you can get a coffee mug and a sticker in return for your support of us. But we're working on getting shirts and hats and things out on our website too. So we'll for sure keep you up to date on that.
There's eventually going to be a order form on our website.
He says we need a Talkin Kentucky 316 shirt. Like Cash 316 or the other one that was Cash Daniel 316. What's the other one? It's like a wrestler. I can't remember what it is, but hey, William, if you would wear a Talkin Kentucky shirt, then we can get you a Talkin Kentucky shirt. It's like anybody that will actually buy our merch, we'll get it out there for you. That's for sure. But you wouldn't believe. Oh, Stone Cold Steve Austin 316. That's what it was. Okay, yeah. See, I'm not a big wrestling guy, but
this joke kind of went over my head. I'm being honest.
These websites.
Like
yeah. Well, I know football goes over here. These things that you've been sending me, these websites with all this merch on it, it's got everything on it. It's got like baby rattles, you can
underwear,
freaking underwear, shoes. It's got like dresses and skirts on there. It's got like everything. You can get Talkin Kentucky pretty much anything. So we're just gonna go all out. You want Talkin Kentucky boxer briefs? If you pay for them, we'll get them to you, man. So William said he'll buy and sell for y'all for sure. Doesn't William work at? I thought he worked at Rupp Arena. Don't you work at Rupp Arena, William?
Yeah, that's
I thought he
right.
did this
Because
past year.
we went to that game and we were gonna meet him.
Can we get some Talking Kentucky merch at Rep Arena? In the man, that'd be like next level. I don't even think that would make us unique for sure. I don't think KSR even has that. He said, "There you go, okay." And he says he does work at Rupp.
There's our plug.
Yep, there it is. That's for sure. Yeah, we can sell. Man, I those Stevens dead Cardinal bumper stickers. Now that would, I feel like that would sell. I would put one of those on my car, my trumpet case, my laptop. Anything. We need to get a phone case going.
That's another thing. Phone case, yeah, that'd be sick.
Yep, have our faces on it. It'd be good.
I think we can get it with the magnet on it too.
Oh yeah,
next level magnet. Talking Kentucky.
That's that Pro Max there. You got.
Is that Pro Max?
I just got a new phone, but I didn't get the Pro Max. I just got the regular one. I got a 13. I asked the Apple people. I said, "What's the difference between a 13 and a 14?" And usually they try to tell you that it's like way better, even if it's not. But they've gotten to the point where the dude was just like, honestly, there's really nothing different. That was
their go-to answer is always the camera's better.
Yeah, the camera's
That's
better.
all they say.
Like, I don't think that. How good can the camera get, guys? I don't think the camera can get any better than it already is. The Retina to do the Retina display is a game changer. Like Retina display, like I don't need all that.
Don't
Does
they
it
like
work
literally
or not?
use these video cameras for movies these days, like stuff like that?
By now, they were saying you could shoot a movie on the iPhone 3GS, and now we're on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. I'd say you'd be able to freaking, it's like
8K.
record in space, yeah.
3D,
yeah, record in 3D, flying cars, all that kind of stuff. So, one thing I did want to talk about that is actually a little bit more serious is that Bronny James, I'm sure you heard, had a heart attack. It's crazy. Like of all people, you think like Bronny James is going to be in shape, right? Like he's going to be he's going to be the picture of health because when your dad is LeBron James and you like grow up in that environment, like you think you're going to be like a picture of health your whole life. So if it can happen to him, that's just what I thought of, is that it can happen to anybody, right? So like that's crazy. It just goes to show like, anybody can happen to anybody. So, when we're getting mad at these players for not playing or like whatever, you don't always know what's going on. So it's I don't know, just made me stop and think. It's like, man, like, and that kid's like 18 too.
Yeah, and I thought about that when Maggie made a comment about these kids being in college and people are going to Twitter or whatever, destroying them. And
that was a good point.
It just made me think about how we've complained in the past about certain players, and we probably, I don't know, need to be. It's just a game at the end of the day. So
yeah, no, it is. No, I really liked. I really did like that series that she did called Off Days or whatever. It was like Jacob Toppin went out to the middle of like the woods or like whatever he likes. I would have never known that Jacob Toppin likes to like go meditate in the woods if she hadn't done that. It's definitely a niche thing. It just makes you look at him a little bit differently than just getting pissed at Jacob for missing a 14-footer. It's like, damn it, Jacob, why can't you freaking you suck?
Another long two.
Yeah, you suck at basket. And it's like, well, he is a human being after all. So William says he had cardiac arrest is different from a heart attack. What's y'all's take on what might have caused this? Oh, I'm the wrong. I'm getting ready to be a doctor, but
between cardiac arrest and heart attack.
I'm not that doctor.
I guess I kind of thought that was the same thing. So I don't know.
Well, I know you're not a big football fan, but you know the DeMar Hamlin thing, right? The Buffalo Bills player that had the heart attack.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was cardiac arrest. I don't know, but like they said that his thing, like, could have been spurred from like impact, like it just happened at the exact right time and it got hit in the exact right spot. So, which is pretty much just like a freak accident. I don't know what happened to Bronny. I don't know if it was like caused by impact or if it was just kind of out of nowhere. But then that other guy that played for Florida, I think it's Keontae Johnson. I think it was his name. And then he transferred to Kansas State. He had a heart attack on the floor and collapsed. At just that, like they weren't even playing. You know, it was just like they were just standing there. So you never know what it could be.
I think a lot of people have heart attacks, like a lot more than you think. And I think people have heart attacks and don't realize it sometimes too.
Yeah, I think so too.
I feel like there's minor heart attacks too that can happen. So just people I know that's happened to. So
somebody on my Facebook timeline just yesterday had a heart attack. I was like, oh my God, they had a heart attack and they were fine now. But it's like, man, it just happened out of nowhere. But don't mean to bring the show down or anything. It's just like, man, just puts into perspective. You know, life is short. You know, these things can happen for sure. Okay, William Need does have the difference for us here. He says cardiac arrest is when your heart stops.
Oh my gosh.
Heart attack is a blockage or heart disease related. Okay.
So cardiac arrest is worse.
It's worse, it sounds like. Okay. I didn't know there was a difference there, honestly.
I didn't know the heart actually stopped. That's crazy.
That is insane. But yeah, just puts it all in perspective. So, you know, and the other side of that, you know, the other thing I wanted to bring up is like, you know, the DeMar Hamlin guy that played for the Bills that had the cardiac arrest. And then, you know, Bronny, do you feel like you can go play after that? Like, would you be able, after having a heart attack, would you be able to go back out there and play again, knowing that could happen to you again? I feel like it'd be take a lot of mental strength to do that.
Well, my first thought is there's probably some underlying issue there, obviously. And so depending what your doctor says, you might not want to play again. Like what happened with the Florida player? Didn't he like not play for 2 years or something?
It was at least a year. I don't know if it was 2 years, but yeah, he took some time off.
He was the one that came in the game against us on senior night, right? For a possession.
Yep. Yeah, he was.
So
yeah,
it ended up ending his career. So
William Neat says, Google told me this. I'm not that smart for real. Hey, I mean, grad school, sometimes if you forget something from your undergrad, you need some refresher for your grad school courses. I'm just telling you, as a grad student, Google can be very helpful. So, you know,
not that he's done it. He's just saying.
Well, no, yeah, you know, sometimes you gotta remember stuff. So, that's I really don't understand like why you have to memorize things as much as you do. Like, I'm not talking about scales and stuff for trumpet. I'm talking about like, let's take, you know, I'm not a huge history fan. Let's take like history classes. Why do they make you memorize dates in history classes?
Hey, you just look it up.
You can just look it up. I could Google. What's a common history thing? Like when was the Revolutionary War? Caden, what years was the Revolutionary War? Or let's not even do Revolutionary. That's too easy. Even though I don't know. What's the Civil War?
Don't ask me trivia.
Civil War.
Don't ask me history. Don't ask me U.S. history trivia.
Do you have any idea when the Civil War was?
I'm not even going to attempt to answer that. No.
Okay, well, I don't either, but
Google knows.
I just Googled it, and it was April 12th, 1861 to April 9th, 1865. Now, that didn't take me any time at all, and right. I probably learned that in school. I did take AP US history, didn't know what when the Civil War was, but Google does, so I just Googled it, and it's fun.
Yeah, I think you could ask Google where George Washington was on a specific date, time, and second. Probably get you pretty close.
Well, as I know from you recently, Google can tell you a lot of different things. You can find out pretty much anything that you Google.
Yeah, don't go into specifics there on the show.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
What? Oh, Williams says Keontae Johnson played for K-State, who knocked us out of the tournament. Then who was the Florida player?
Well, he transferred to Kansas State. From Florida. But I think he did come in against us when he was still at Florida. I think you're right about that. But he did transfer to Kansas State. But he played for both. Yes.
Speaking of memorizing things, it made me think of Miss Fitch, actually. And this is a true story. I had her for health before I had her for PE. And she would give us the test a week before the actual test and said, this is going to be your test, and this is what I want you to know. So this is your study guide. I thought, all right.
That makes sense to me. What? Yeah.
So Miss Fitch is teaching Shaq how to shoot free throws, and she's like teaching us the right way. So
I know why your free throws ain't going down. Because that follow through, baby. Gotta have that touch.
Gotta have.
She literally said, "This is what I want you to know on the test." So this is your study guide.
That makes perfect sense to me in my eyes. William Need says he transferred. He did hit a big three in the final minutes last year, I do believe. Yeah, I think their entire team hit a big three in the final minutes last year. I felt like when we were playing Germany and in Canada, they were hitting everything. That's like the only game start to finish that I actually watched of the Canada games. Yeah, they were hitting us. They were hitting us from all angles. But the difference is we actually won that game. So,
most of those teams up there were lighting it up from three.
But we still won because we were lighting it up from 3 too for once. That doesn't happen very often.
Well, like we got better every game too, so it was good.
So William, do you sell? I'm curious, and maybe I already asked you this in a previous episode, but what's your take on the Rupp Arena ice cream? So as an employee of Rupp Arena, do you think that it's like all it's cracked up to be, or do you think it's like overrated because it's just soft serve?
Yeah, and he probably gets a discount. He probably gets it for $10 instead of $15.
He probably does. Yeah, I'm curious to hear your opinion on the Rupp Arena ice cream. I have not had the Rupp Arena soft serve ice cream. Caden, you've been to more games than me lately. You went to Tennessee game. Did you get some ice cream? Did you pull a Jay Billis and get some ice cream at the Tennessee game?
No, I got the nachos and cheese though, and the nachos were bagged and the cheese was like in a cup with the top on it. I couldn't believe it.
And the nachos were in a bag.
Yeah, the chips were in a bag, and then the cheese was like just one of those like normal nacho cheeses you get from Walmart or something. I was pretty disappointed.
You probably pay like $20 for it.
Yeah, wasn't worth it.
No. Well, I'm waiting on William Neat's ice cream verdict here, but we can go ahead and begin to wrap up the show, unless anybody has any pressing Kentucky basketball or football news going on, which there's not, other than fall camp starts this week. But I want to remind you guys to like us here on Facebook. If you don't already, like and follow us on Facebook, because that's where we do most of our stuff. You can follow the show on X at Talkin_Kentucky. And you can subscribe to us on YouTube at Talkin_Kentucky. We have started to put some funny stuff on there. We're not sure why the South Park Louisville reel that we have posted on there has not gotten more views, because it's hilarious. But
yeah, we're the drunk Tennessee fan. I mean, just the picture alone is pretty funny.
That's right. You can also become a supporter of Talking Kentucky on our Patreon and get some merch in return. That is a Talking Kentucky mug or sticker. So the link's in the comments for that. If you would like to support us and you'd like to see us bring more guests on, like Maggie Davis and Freddie Maggard and some of those peeps on here. Okay, do we have a verdict here from William Neat? He says it's amazing, though, because it's the only ice cream in the building and must have $6.
So it's good because it's the only option.
Yeah, that's
only $6, so that's cheaper than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it is cheaper than I thought it would be. That doesn't do it for me that it's the only ice cream in the building necessarily. Taylor Bell does have hand dipped. It's really good. Well, maybe I have to try. I mean, maybe I should stop. Like, I do have to try it to form my own opinion on it. So maybe one of these days, I'll try some Taylor Bell ice cream. So that's the brand, Taylor Bell.
Guess so. Oh, we got to eat some on the show. Some Taylor Bell.
We got to go to a game, get get soft serve ice cream and film our live reaction to it. Apparently,
Or is he talking about Taylor Bell? Can we get Taylor Bell like at Walmart?
I would assume so. Is that the same thing? Is Taylor Bell and the soft serve the same thing? I guess it is. I feel like that's what I've heard before. By the way, there's that link in the comments to the support section of our website in case anybody was looking for that. Okay.
So they buy Taylor Bell and then they sell it at the games and they mark it up like 100%.
He says we can get it at Walmart here. So if you can buy Taylor Bell at Walmart, then that sounds like a good next thing we got to do. The next bracket we have to do, Caden, is a commercial bracket. We have to do a terrible / funny commercial bracket. So I think that's on the docket for next. And apparently eating and rate. We got to do a tier list for Taylor Bell ice cream.
We should do. You said there were 90. What, you found a YouTube video with like 98 terrible commercials?
I did. Yes.
Can you imagine if we did like a Talking Kentucky marathon? Went through every single one of them.
Well, I wouldn't be opposed. We have done
Talking
stupider
Kentucky
things.
24-hour marathon.
Maggie did say to be unique, so we think we got to do that. William said,
"Can you imagine listening to fight songs for 24 hours? Oh my gosh!"
Yeah, as long as it's not Southern Indiana. William Need says, I'm not sure on Walmart, but 100% y'all eating live ice cream. Okay, well, if you'd watch us eating live ice cream, then we will certainly consider that. And if you would wear a Talking Kentucky shirt, we will certainly consider that. So
we can eat it out of the Talking Kentucky mug.
We can. There you go. You eat it out of the mug. We can get we've been working on a bourbon glass, been working on a beer mug. We can do one of those. So yeah. Well, guys, thanks for joining us for this rare Monday edition of Talking Kentucky. We're not going to do another show this week, so we won't be back until either next Thursday or Friday of next week. So that'll either be the 10th or 11th next week. So we got a little bit before we'll see you guys again. But hopefully some UK news will happen before then. We'll have some more stuff to talk about. Maybe we can talk some football from fall camp. Maybe that we can make that happen. William Neat says he'll do both. He'll watch us eating ice cream and he'll wear a Talking Kentucky shirt. So that's good. But guys, we really appreciate you guys watching us and everything, and supporting us. It means a lot. We're glad that people like what we do. We're glad that people enjoy our show. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Podbean, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, and Castbox. And recently, I've discovered that we're on this thing called Good Pods too, according to Brad Harvey. He told me that we're on Good Pods. I was not aware that we were on Good Pods, but we have 3 ratings on there and they're all 5 stars. So thanks for whoever did that. Yep. And I also created an account and rated us 5 stars. And now we have 4. But 3 other people did.
Hey, that's cheating.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of, shut up, Caden. Anyway, this is, so we're on Good Pods too. So be sure to rate us 5 stars on all those things, and follow us on those platforms. We'd really appreciate that too. And William Neat says, "Go Cats, go Taylor Bell ice cream." I couldn't agree more. Even though we have been talking about Taylor Bell ice cream, we will name this episode "Talking Maggie" in honor of Maggie coming on the show. But that's all I got for today. Caden, you got anything to add?
Nope. Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you, Maggie.
Go Cats.
And go Cats, yeah. And go Taylor Bell ice cream. So for Coleman Scott, for Caden Holmes, for Taylor Bell ice cream, and for Maggie Davis, not Nagy Bavis, Maggie Davis, this has been episode number 63 of Talking Kentucky, and we will see you guys next week. Go Cats.